So the complaint today is no power at the thermostat. This is a VAV unit, VAV number 10. So we've got a VAV up in the ceiling. We've got the heat kit with the transformer on the right hand side. So that's where our power is coming from. And we've got some Pelican stuff over here. So like this is the other half of the thermostat. You know, you can take out that module if you need to. Like in this case, we have just 3 conductors going down to the thermostat. So you can remove this module, put it up in the VAV. This is a TA1, which gets us the supply air temperature. So that's all your Pelican devices. You've got your Belimo damper motor, and you've got this resettable transformer. So when I push the reset button, after I don't know 10 seconds or so, it will trip. So we've got to figure out why. The next thing we need to do is start isolating things from the circuit. So the first thing I did was I isolated the transformer, put the transformer all by itself. So I undid these 2 wire nuts, right? So you look at the sticker underneath the transformer and you figure out what's the low side, and the yellow and the blue are the low side. It's a 240 volt transformer stepping down to 24. So here's your low side. So that's the first thing I did, was I took these 2 wire nuts off and isolated the transformer all by itself. I push the button and it does not trip, right? So then you got a good transformer. And also I took my meter and I checked the voltage. It's putting out 24 volts. So the transformer's good. So then I need to start thinking about the other components in this circuit. You've got a heat kit. The heat kit has some relays there, and on these Trane units, yellow and purple are the stages of heat, and brown is the common that comes back. So just file that away. And the wires run through the unit to come over to the section where the controller used to be. So here they come again. So you've got yellow and blue, that's power and common. You've got brown as the common for the heat kit, orange and purple for the signals to the heat kit. A lot of times these Trane units are common side switching when you walk up on them, but we like to reverse that when possible. Anyways, so you've got 5 conductors that go from the power source or from the heat kit cabinet over to the control cabinet. So the next thing I started to do was I started isolating components. I took the power wire out of the TA1 and I pushed the button on the transformer, and 10 seconds later it tripped again. So I took the power wire out of the module and pushed the button. 10 seconds later it trips again. So then I went and took the thermostat off of the wall, pushed the button. 10 seconds later it trips again. So then I tried the common, because this is a floating actuator, so the power sources were coming from the module, and so I knew that because I had the power wire out of the module that there was no power, no hot side coming to the actuator. So I pulled the common, which really shouldn't have mattered, but I did it anyways, just cause. Push the button. 10 seconds later it tripped again. So then I'm looking at, all right, I'm gonna undo the common bundle, and I'm gonna undo the power bundle, and I'm gonna start adding things back in one at a time. So with the common bundle totally taken apart, so I take out, you know, this yellow is common from the transformer, and this is common going to the heat kit. So with that totally isolated, push the button and it does not trip. So the next thing I do is I just tie the heat kit back in. When I put these back together, 10 seconds later it does trip. So what that tells me is somewhere the brown is touching the blue and creating a short circuit. So then I start to look for, you know, so it goes these wires go into the unit and then come back out. So I'm starting to examine these penetrations, and you can, if you look real close, you can see that green stuff in there. That's corrosion and some charring. So the wires have gotten wet and corroded, or got a nick in them and corroded and deteriorated, and the corrosion is probably touching. So that's probably it right there at that junction. I think I can see some corrosion or some damage maybe right here as well. So anyway, the wiring harness is bad. It's a bad wiring harness. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some 8 conductor. We're going to use 5 of these 8 conductors, and we're just going to go from this cabinet to this cabinet and bypass this bad section of wiring harness, and that should fix the problem. Okay, you can see I cut out the old harness there, put in a new 8 conductor, ran it over, tied it into the old harness, and left them their quick disconnect just for fun. So we're ready to turn the power on and push the button. And right away, I noticed a difference. This wasn't making any noise before, now it is. I got a green flashing light for a second on my TA1, and I'll bet you the thermostat no longer says no power. So we've fixed it. That button's not gonna pop anymore. Okay, so whenever you run into a problem with a short circuit, you just got to start isolating the components in the circuit until the problem goes away. So it's really nice to have a resettable transformer, so you're not putting fuses in and blowing fuses one after another, which sometimes we do. But I actually have a resettable fuse, little 5 amp or 3 amp resettable fuse. You can get them on Amazon for just a few dollars, and they come in really handy because you can put that fuse in line and reset it and start removing things from the circuit one by one until you figure out what it is. A lot of times you'll have things like fan, heat, and cool coming off of these outputs, and so you're removing those outputs one at a time until things stop tripping the transformer. So that's how we do it.